Good morning, welcome to this morning's Outlook. This is Kim Watson speaking on Tuesday the 12th of January. So, looking ahead to today, just before I do that, just need to really look at what news events are coming out, and there is best part of nothing. So, in fact, this week it sits pretty empty on the calendar. There's very little that's likely to really move these markets. We've got Fed Chair Powell speaking on Thursday, and then the US core retail sales on Friday, but nothing much else. So we're left down to the market's own devices, and it's certainly been a week or so of devices. Anyway, let's look at, in fact, the dollar index to start things off this morning, and I've been switching between the dollar index and the euro dollar quite a bit. They are one is an inverted version of the other effectively, because the amount of the influence of the euro on the dollar index. But important, well, I say important from my point of view, thing to be watching for here is the dollar index itself has run into some resistance into its 34 there. Now it has been running pretty well, a few days up there, just having a bit of a resistance point where we're sitting here, and this could be short-term over in terms of that retracement. We've had a decent retracement now, could be short-term retracement. We'll see how this day pans out. From a euro point of view, we've got a slightly different thing going on here, because yes, we've got there you go, the inverted, it's into its 34, daily 34 here. There are a number of I've just put these lines on here. They're around the sort of key area of where there's quite some large option expiries for today at the 10 a.m. New York time, so Eastern time. It's what's that, 3 for us, isn't it? 3 p.m. this afternoon. Now, these figures, they're sitting at around about 1.4 billion, 1.4 billion, sitting at 122, 122.50, 1.4 billion, and 2.1 billion. So they're sizable. They're not massive, but they're sizable, and it may, as the day goes through here, just provide some resistance. However, even for them to get the market at this stage to get up here, it doesn't look like it's having the best of bounces, and this could soon, well, just continue, I guess. But I was looking at those and thinking, well, if we're starting to see a bounce off these levels, where's the resistance? Well, maybe at this stage, 4 hourly 21 on the euro would probably come into its limitations potentially for today anyway. So looking at just coming down this time frame, is there any shakeout of this continuation of this move? Well, it got pretty close to giving us a higher low this morning, but at the moment it's still maybe pointing to the south side, although it has come to, as I say, some key support there, or key resistance, whichever way you're looking at it. And it'll be interesting to see how this morning pans out. At the moment, we've had that shove up there this morning. It's not particularly big, this move, but it's just to see how things pan out as we run through the morning. But I do wonder if we will see a more significant bounce. But there's the levels in terms of to be aware of in terms of potential resistance pre 3 o'clock. Pound doesn't have any problems like that. It's a little bit easier. It too has been running back to a 34 yesterday and seen a bit of a bounce. It's had a bit of a better bounce this morning. Relatively back into its mean on its regression line there. It's now, well, it could be seen as a reasonable point where the shorts may come in. It's running back into a 34 on the 4 hourly. If you look at the 4 hourly pattern here, if we're going to see a reversal, it's possibly here. It's still got the weekly pivot above, and I'm just eyeballing a trend line. In fact, I should draw it on briefly, very quickly. There we go. Just looking at this trend line here, and this may provide a decent resistance point in terms of those looking on the short side for a continuation of this move. However, yesterday it has put and today has put a half decent move in there. It's put a higher low in where the euro hasn't managed to do that. The pound is running. The pound also has run from its daily pivot into its R1. It's really largely done quite a lot of its average daily ranges here in sense of the moves that we've seen. We could of course see this broken, but it starts getting a lower percentage case when you're looking back to where we would really like to see it coming back towards this R2. So At the moment, it may be just stuck here. It may have further upside, but I'm wondering, coming down these time frames, whether that 4-hourly 34 is enough this morning to see it roll back, or whether we're going to see a breakthrough that and a test, and this then becomes a key level around this weekly pivot and the trend line on the 4-hourlies there for cable. Yen rather, dollar yen's running into its monthly R1 here, had a reaction off that as well. Momentum's still pretty strong to the upside. As we look at this, we've had some really big old green bars flying through there. Today obviously hasn't finished yet, and this is more like the euro in terms of very inverted euro, admittedly, but it's less decisive here in terms of its price action. Has got a weekly pivot still to look at below, but we'll see how it sort of moves towards that. But at the moment, it's, as I say, it's got it seems to have less of a case. We're seeing a little bit again, a little bit of bounce. I mean, you could almost invert this, and it would be the euro. This sort of bounce here, just pushing up. At the moment, well, a break of the 60-minute 50, I think, would be more bearish for the dollar yen. Where it sits at the moment, we could just see it reverse. It's not put a confirmed lower high or anything, so that both the euro and the yen not looking particularly clear there from where we are. The pound looking stronger. Talking of looking stronger, Aussie dollar starting to pitch back again. We saw some reversal sort of signs here, and it's been pushing up. However, once again, as with the pound, we could be running into some early morning resistance here. We may just push on a little bit further towards that weekly pivot there, the 21.34, all put together. Maybe a half decent shorting point if you're looking to short. However, as with the pound, this has made a higher low, so these currencies are just slightly ahead of the curve relative to the euro and the yen. Canadian dollar. Looking at the Canadian dollar. Now, it was yesterday, we really did see a sell-off on these commodity currencies such as the Canadian dollar, the Aussie dollar, New Zealand dollar. Canadian dollar, as with the pound and euro, we've seen it run into its 34 here, daily 34, and a half decent correction at this stage. And as with the pound and the Aussie, it's put a lower high in on its way down here, so it's confirmed a lower high and looking soft. In terms of those that are sort of looking for the bounce off here, well, if it is going to bounce, there's the 21, the 50, the 34 all sort of grouped up below us, may provide opportunities on the long side, but it does look at the moment like it may have a bit more of a correction to be had on that Canadian dollar. Looking elsewhere, the oil markets here, let's just come back to the dailies. And it's sort of recovered. I mean, yesterday really saw a sell-off there. Today we've sort of recovered back to those prior highs. The Saudi cuts have certainly given the oil market something to be happy about. It is at double top area with a big divergence at the moment, though. Still could see a correction from this morning, but it's, as I say, quite solid into its R1 here. Slight new high. May just peter out, but not a place to be buying in my book, but not a confirmed sell point either, but it could correct from here. If we see the other markets running, it could be worth flicking through back to oil to see what it's up to. S&Ps this morning. So the S&Ps at the moment, well, the S&Ps are chopping along on a 60-minute time frame. We're not seeing sort of the surges we've seen, but again, we've seen a little correction here. Yesterday was a sell-off day. First sell-off day we've had for well, quite some since last Monday. So all of last week was positive days, apart from the Monday. We've seen this sort of correction again yesterday. Consolidation here at the moment. It really does look like this market's in a bit of a nowhere land. It has got the weekly pivot, which could act as a bit of a draw to the downside. A sell-off here could become a target, but otherwise really very difficult to see where this is going at the moment. Very choppy, very sideward. May get some false breakouts either way on that, so a difficult market to be reading from here, but the overall trend still very strongly to the upside. Looking at gold, gold took a bit of a correction, quite significant correction yesterday. Having last Friday there corrected significantly. We saw quite a correction. I say significant, it was still quite significant, nothing compared to Friday, but still quite a correction. But we've seen it find some support gradually, but it was it's difficult to see where actually the support actually came from. Just looking at this, may have just been a 61 or even a 786 retracement on that movement. But it does seem to be wanting to show a bit of a support. Has just made higher lows here. May offer something more on gold here. May see some more upside potential. So that's what I'm looking at the moment. Gold, as I say, quite a harsh sell-off last week. Probably more than one would have expected, but there we are. This was just where we've seen the dollar strength coming through, and it really showed up on oil. Another market that really took a caning over the last couple of days. I'll just bring in Bitcoin. A lot of traders looking at Bitcoin. Well, Bitcoin, to me, as I said, it's one of those buy and hold things. It's very aggressive in terms of its nature. Opportunities where you see it pulling back, like yesterday. For some people, they would have been selling and panicking out. A lot of these traders that are running into the sort of buying in late in the game may just be closing out at losses, etc. But for others, this is a buying opportunity. When you drop down over $12,000 worth, it seems to be a good buying opportunity. And those that are sort of averaging, this just becomes an average point. I know some people that sort of averaged in back around the 130, the 32 area, 32. It seems like decent places to be averaging on this, but it's a very much a long-term path, as my perception of Bitcoin. Okay, that's pretty much it for me. I wish you a great day. I'll speak to you in the morning. Bye for now.